Well, quite amazingly, here we are with episode 3, and we've got a little bit of a treat tonight as well, because our guest tonight is actually photography based, which is great for me because obviously that's what I do. So that'll be really quite cool. But before we get into that, what I obviously need to do is just explain to you all what the Flux Review is. Which is a magazine. So I'm just going to bring these slides up to show you. As you can see, edition 10 is out now, and there is a limited edition version of that. And this is the lovely Lisa Gray, who's in charge of the Flux Review. She produces the whole thing herself, which is quite amazing. And it features a lot of different artists. There's a lot of artist interviews, and there's a lot of absolutely amazing stuff about the art world in general. That leads on to the Flux exhibition, which this year is in Marylebone Road in London, 25th to 28th of July. I'll be there, and so will pretty much every guest that I have leading up to the exhibition, and quite a few guests afterwards too. What I'd like to do is just show you the Flux Review website. This is it. You can see here up the top there are all the different sections you can go to. There are a couple of virtual exhibitions as well, and you can buy the magazine through here. You can also get it in quite a few different outlets, but there are also, as you can see, a lot of artist profiles and a lot of artist interviews. So well worth jumping across to that and seeing what if anything grabs your fancy. But as you can see, you click on the link, that takes you to the interview for that particular artist. So that's the Flux Review. That's what it's all about. But this is all about interviewing artists and finding out who they are and what they can actually bring to our lives. And the one tonight, Kerry-Lynne, I'm going to introduce. I've done a little video, put some of her images together. She's very interesting work, that's for sure. And we're going to have a big old chat for the next hour. So let's see how we go. Well, there you go. Now, it's also fair to say, because I've had a chat with Kerry and I know this to be the case, that actually those photographs don't do her work justice, simply because of the amount of work she then does to her work before it's framed, etc. So we're going to call her in now, Kerry. But before we do, just to bring this up, that actually send your questions in the chat. If you're on YouTube, you can join the chat. I don't believe you can join the chat on Facebook or Instagram, but if you are on YouTube, then you can join the chat, and that will be fantastic. And we'll hopefully see a few of you in there a little bit later. So let's, with no further ado, let's bring Kerry in. Hello, Kerry.
Hi.
I hope you enjoyed that little film that I created for you, and I was right, wasn't I? That actually it doesn't really show your work off as it should be shown because of what you do. But before we get into that, tell me what you used to do before art became your main job, and also why art and why photography as the medium?
Well, I have to say, I come from a family of artists, really. I've got two sisters who are really talented artists, and it's always been in my blood to be creating and making. I used to have a shop where I painted furniture, and then I went on to photography, all self-taught. I had a real passion for taking like pictures of the kids at the school play, things like that. And then it was just a hobby, and I went into dressmaking for a while. And I used to get my friends to model in the dresses and stand by a tree or something looking gorgeous in these dresses I made. And I sold a few, but people used to say to me, wow, I like your dress, but who did your photography? It's really good. And in the end, I just thought I could make more money being a photographer. I'm sure I could.
There's a lot of us who think that. There's a lot of us who think that.
Yeah. So I gave up the dressmaking because it was really time consuming, and I had small children and everything. And then I got into photography, and I did a couple of weddings, and then I got into family shoots, and I really enjoyed it.
So hold on 1 second. You did some weddings. See, I've got huge admiration for any photographer that does weddings, because
me too.
The pressure must be unbelievable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Two weddings, I think. No, three weddings, and yeah, it's hard work. It is really hard work.
Yeah.
So then I sort of got into lockdown, and I just moved house, and lockdown was a really good time, because I started to experiment with things, and I've always loved etchings and lithographs and old photography, old style ambrotype, things like that, and printing. And I just wanted a way to make my photographs look old. I just didn't want to take pictures of things or trees, which is my love. That just looked like you've just taken a picture. I wanted to age them, if you like, but in my own way. I did a couple of courses at West College in Chichester, and then I just decided to throw myself into it and work out a way to make it shine, to make it different, not literally shine, but then the shine came in with the gold leaf, silver leaf, copper leaf, and I played around with that. It's taken a long time to get there. It was quite a time-consuming thing, and lots of mistakes.
Yeah.
Lots of it went in the bin. Lots of, I can't do this. This is impossible. What am I doing? And I was just determined to do it, and found a way. It was hard because I didn't have any peers to look to say, well, how do they do it? Because I'm sure there are people out there who do exactly what I do. I don't know, but I haven't found anyone yet. So yeah, it was really hard working it out.
So before we come on to how you do what you do, and I'm not going to ask you the ins and outs of it, because I know that's your special thing. But at what point do you decide the picture's finished?
Ooh, I would say it's all about, once I've taken the photograph and I come home and I sit there and I work with Lightroom, and I go through all the series of pictures I've taken that day, and I take photographs every single day, and it's all about contrast for me. The light and dark, if you can't get that right, I mean, some photographs I think, wow, that would be amazing with gold, and then I try it and it looks horrendous, or I try it with silver. No, it doesn't work with silver either, or copper, and I have to scrap that picture, and I've worked on it for hours, and I think, why hasn't that come together?
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. It's getting the right contrast, I'd say, and the right look that I want. And if I'm not happy with it, it goes in the bin, and the bin is always full with ones that go wrong.
Well, and that is interesting. So I know from our chat during the week that you produce more than one. You do a limited edition run, don't you? Of
just
them.
10 of each.
Of 10, but because you're applying your gold, copper leaf, etc. on top, then that makes every single one unique. Surely.
Yeah. exactly.
which is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me to do two, I've just done my framers in Arundel, who have been fantastic. They've just framed one for me, a second one of a horse, and when I did that, it looked completely different to the first one I did. I've just sold. It's each one, because, like you say, as it's done by hand, the way
Yeah.
the gold is applied,
Yeah.
and the marks it leaves, each one
Yeah.
is unique.
Yeah. Well, that and that in itself, I think that's quite remarkable. But I'm going to jump back to something you just said there, which is that you use Lightroom.
Mm.
So I use Photoshop. I don't use Lightroom. I know that a friend of mine, Glyn Jewis, he's actually really suddenly gone from Photoshop into Lightroom in a big way. And so why is the answer? Why have you always used Lightroom, or did you start using Lightroom and that's where you've stayed?
Yeah, so being self-taught with photography, I've always done digital. I've done a little bit of film work, but not processed my own. And I found myself going down the digital route and discovered that there was a world of apps and things out there to help you enhance if you needed to. And I just came across Lightroom, and everyone said, oh, you should use Photoshop. And I took a look at it, and it just looked so complicated. My children were still growing up then, and I thought, I haven't got time to learn this. To sit down and really concentrate, because you need to with Photoshop, or I did, I did try, but I just found Lightroom suited me better, and I found it really worked for me. I felt really comfortable with it. So yeah, I've always used it.
Brilliant. So the next question, which I know you get asked a lot, and you always go, "I'm a bit of a girl about my camera." But what camera do you use?
It's an Olympus Micro Four Thirds.
See, you remembered this time.
Terrible. At a wedding I did, I had a man come up to me and say, "Oh, what lens are you using, etc." And I just showed him the camera, because I don't even want to have this conversation about lenses, etc.
Yeah.
I just, I like my camera. I like that it's light and really easy to use. It's not too heavy and clunky, and haven't got to carry loads of baggage around with me. And I just like using this one because it's nice and light and easy.
Well, the thing with any camera, and quite frankly, we were talking earlier before we went live about the fact that yes, you can use your iPhone. I mean, if you stick with the new iPhone, if you stick to the standard lens and not go to wide angle or zoom in or anything, you do get a 42 megapixel image, and you can shoot in RAW as well. So that allows you to edit it in camera RAW, and there's nothing wrong with that. Really and truly, it whatever suits you is the thing.
I
There are
agree.
people,
And I think a lot of it is, I mean, most of my pictures are shot on walks of my dog, who's really old and going blind and very, very slow. And she dawdles, which is perfect for me because I'm just always stopping in the woods and looking at trees and taking photographs of trees. And, quite often I just don't have my camera with me, so yeah, I think, well, I'll try it with my mobile, and it works sometimes, not always.
Yeah, and it's true. I've used mine, and often it's purely because I'll be somewhere. I was walking through. I had a meeting in London, and I'm walking through a part of London that I wasn't that familiar with. And as I walked past a pair of great big iron gates, there was the most amazing buildings and a courtyard behind it. Just had my iPhone with me, but I
And
took
you've
that
got to
picture,
take it, haven't you?
and that I will use it. Yeah, I will use it because the quality's that good. So there's nothing wrong at all with doing that. So when you've taken your picture and you've printed it, you've done whatever you need to do to it to be able to then work on it with the gold leaf. How long does it take you in terms of, or is that a silly question and that depends what the picture is? to put that gold leaf and get it all right. And how many, as you've said already, some ends up in the bin. So how many goes do you have?
It's usually, I usually do, I would say at least 5 or 6 runs on the printer before I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'll print one out and then I'll look at it and think, no, that's not working for me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll do 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 and then I'll just scrap the whole picture and think, no, that's not working. To me, I'm a perfectionist and it's got to be striking. If it's not striking to me.
And I think that's true of all of us artists.
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
that is true of
Yeah.
all of us. And I've, talking to Michelle last week, I did actually say at the time, how do you know when it's finished? And I believe actually it's never finished, because there is always something that you go,
Yeah.
oh, damn, why didn't I do
I'll
that?
see it framed in a gallery or something and say, oh, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that.
Yeah, and it is, and that's happened to me a few times. To be fair as well. So let's talk about which part of the country you live in and how that has influenced your work. Because I know where you're from, and I know I've read your artist statement. So if you can remember what you put in that, because most of us can't. let's touch a bit on that.
I live in West Sussex in the South Downs National Park, which
Lovely.
is beautiful. Absolutely. Yeah. I was born and raised around here, just a few miles down the road, actually. So yeah, it's just abundant with. I live in Petworth, so with Park, Petworth House is a beautiful deer park.
National Trust.
National Trust. I don't know if you can see. Oh, whoopsie daisy! That's one of the trees from Petworth Park.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, there's so many ancient trees there. They're beautiful. Yeah. So I'm often there with the dog. And the South Downs, of course. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. So I'm on walks twice a day with my dog in the countryside.
And then you've also got old dilapidated buildings as well.
Yeah. It reminds me when I was a child, I used to play with my sister and friends, and we'd go into the woods and there'd be some tumble down cottage or something. Don't think you'd see it so much nowadays, but I do find them. But we would play in these houses, pretend they were ours, and ancient trees and things. I just love that whole thought of who lived there, who was there, what happened to it, why is it like this? It's decaying. And then you've got beautiful growth of trees and ancient trees that have been there hundreds of years before you.
Yeah.
It's such a
I think it's. I find. Buildings for me are fascinating.
Yeah.
I've done quite a lot of urbex. So and I've been to.
I'm into urbex.
Yeah. So I've been to Poland and I did 3 days there.
Wow.
Which is quite amazing. Some of the buildings that have just been left.
Yeah.
And that we managed to get into, and then as part of my day job, one of my clients bought a mental asylum in Colchester, and I went. They allowed me to go in there for a couple of hours, and it'd been empty for years and years and years. And that, apart from being quite eerie, that was fabulous. I got some fantastic pictures from that I could then use.
So really want to go to is Shoreham Works, Concrete Works, is it called? I'm just trying to think what it's called now.
Yeah.
If anyone's out there who can.
Well, down in Shoreham, you got walking along the beach. You got some amazing old boats that are all dilapidated.
Yeah.
And I take a lot of texture pictures so that I can use texture in my work. So. We've got a nice little comment from Lee. Well, yes, Lee. Lee was on a chat that I did with Glyn Jewis, and he's watching tonight. Thanks very much, Lee. Very nice of you to come along. And here's his comment: have you tried shooting the same tree at different times of the year to get a different feel before using a particular picture? Good question.
Do you know, a lot of people say that to me, and I've just started doing that. I've got my favourite trees that I do go back to. And it'd be nice to do a series of all the different, autumn, winter, spring.
Yeah. I'm fascinated with trees, and I always have been. I
Mm.
used to, when I first started getting heavily into photography, it was street lamps, and wherever I went in the world.
Sorry, can I stop you
Is
1
that
minute? I'm
your-
just going to shut a door because it's making a terrible squeak.
I think we'll jump to me
Are
for
you
a
there?
second, because I think you've just
I know.
I think your
sorry.
camera's gone off.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. Let me get
Well,
you-
I'll carry on talking.
You carry on
you get
talking.
your camera working back
dear.
again. See, this is what happens when you've got things going on in the background. Might be better, Kerry, if you go back and out and come back in again, like you
Yes,
did
I
before
think
we
so.
started.
I'm so sorry.
But I'll carry on talking anyway. Which is what I was explaining there is I had this thing about lamps. Oh, I can see you've come back. Yes. So I had this thing about street lamps. And wherever we went, all over the world, didn't matter where it was, I had to take all these different lamps. I ended up with thousands of them, all different. But my street scenes, if you like, had to have one of those lamps in it somewhere when I took the picture. So we're all a bit weird.
Yeah,
I think
we are.
we all got
get
certain things that we all like, and that
something
certainly
yeah.
was one for me. Was the lamps.
Yeah.
So as you've already said, you were living there in and brought up in West Sussex. So that's kind of where your love of that area comes from. But I can see from your artist statement, heavily influenced by historical photography processes. So let's have a little chat about that then. In what terms are you referring to?
Oh God, tintype. I love tintype.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got a really, really good friend who has that's his business actually.
Wow.
He goes to, as people will know, I do the steampunk events, and he's always there, Greg, and he has this. He's developing. His developing unit is actually a TARDIS, like Doctor Who. So he takes he's got the big camera, takes his picture, and then he goes in there and does the developing. He sells a lot, but that's his thing.
Yeah.
And he's brilliant at it, absolutely brilliant at it. So I can see why you love that, and I can see why with some of your pictures you've almost gone in that direction with, but
I have
in,
a more modern way. You know, I love sepia. I love sepia photography. Like this one, for instance.
Right. So if now you're holding that to the light, and now we can see
the gold.
The gold.
Yeah.
Which you can't
see. Yeah, it's funny. I just did
the
landmark fair in Teddington, and I had people come up and say, "Oh, that's a nice photograph," and then I picked it up and did this to it, and they went, "Wow!" Didn't realise, it's hard. It needs light to show it off.
It does,
and it changes throughout the day. It's lovely, depending on where you put it. Throughout the day, the light changes, obviously, and it just changes the picture.
Yeah, remarkable.
But yeah,
have you got another one there that we can look at too? That's got that similar sort of.
This is with copper.
Oh,
you can see.
So yeah, I can see. So that's different. Yeah, so that's got a different. Just tilt it back a bit. Yeah, there you go. That's you can see the lights on it now. Excellent.
And this one is silver, which I showed you earlier. Doesn't show so well with the colour. No.
So and again, that's interesting. So you're going to have these at Flux, and
I've got one really special one as well, Gary.
How have you? Well, don't show anybody if you have that at Flux.
No, I'm not. It's a one-off, really, really special one that's going to be there.
Excellent. That's the sort of thing we like to hear, because you are a Flux newbie, and I'm glad I've got the right teeth in to say that, because obviously that can come wrong. But you are a Flux newbie, and you're in for a treat, because the exhibition is fantastic. Now, the thing that I think, and I did sort of speak to you about this in the week, is the Flux family. The fact that everybody, all the artists involved in Flux, we all help each other, and it's quite it's a fabulous atmosphere. fabulous exhibition to go to. The opening night, you need to put your glad rags on, because quite frankly, it's a
I'm
real
already planning it.
fabulous night. And what I will, the only bit of advice I will give you is just make sure you talk to people and you actually, because especially with your work, you've just shown what difference it makes with the light coming on it.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of thing that you need to explain and talk about, and then people get drawn in. And the people that come to Flux, because it's been going for a number of years now, people come knowing that that they're going to be able to talk to the artists and get a bit of an insight.
Yeah.
Which is really quite amazing. So is it this? So this, I'm not going to pry too much, but let's give me a little bit of a clue to this. This special piece you've got. Is it architecture? Is it trees, or is it
It
mixture
is
of both?
tree. It is tree. It is associated with, I haven't got it here. It's a very, very ancient tree. It's over 1,000 years old.
Whoa.
And it's connected to Queen Elizabeth I.
Wow.
And it's a one-off size. So I won't be doing another one of that one. And the gold's pretty special.
You little tease. Excellent. That's fantastic. Well, I look forward to seeing that, certainly, at Flux. Now, before we came on air, we did also have a little chat about the fact that you have got a bit of a disability which affects your artwork. So you know, it affects it in a way that doesn't affect the quality of it. It just affects perhaps how long it takes you to do it, or how you feel after you've done that. So that's just explain a little bit by that.
Yeah, it's called, in fact, it's Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, but it's actually Ehlers-Danlos syndrome month, awareness month. So it's quite good that we're talking about it now. And it's genetic. It's a collagen defect. It's in my family, and it means that I'm double jointed, and I suffer with a lot of pain in my joints and get very, very tired easily. So yeah, depending on how I'm feeling, some days, you know, I get up and I want to do loads of work in the studio, and I just can't at all. You know, it's just a chore to get up and get washed, dressed, and out the door for anything. Other days I'm buzzing, and everyone always tells me off. All my friends say, "Don't burn up all your energy, Kerry," because as soon as I've got energy, I'll go to the studio and I'll work because I love it so much. And then I can, you know, I have to pace myself. So sometimes I get friends pop in and they go, "What are you doing? Slow down. Go and lie down. Go and have a rest."
But do you not think that we're all a bit like that, in that we
are.
If you come up with an idea, you want to get on with it. You want to get
exactly when it's in that. I mean,
do
sometimes I'll wake up in the night and it's like, I'm sure you're the same, when you think of something and I've got to do it. You know.
Well, I know Katerina, who I spoke to, interviewed a couple of weeks ago, the first one actually. You know, she's not well at the moment either. She's struggling to energy and all sorts. She's got a few things that are going on, and she's desperate to get working and cracking on again. And it's something that, especially as a creative, if that's that holds you back, then it's more than a little bit frustrating. That's for sure.
It is, yeah.
It does. I mean, I get sort of paranoid about damaging my fingers or my eyes because I won't be able to do the art that I want to do, and you know, I do get a little bit paranoid by that. And yet, when I wasn't doing this, didn't worry about it at all. Now I kind of think twice about
you do.
And you definitely have to think a little bit more about pacing your time out.
Yes.
And saying, okay, I mean, I would imagine that when you've got a deadline to hit, that's probably the worst time, is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and also it affects your memory. So sometimes I think, oh, I have a quiet day today, and think, oh my God, I've got to get my bio in or something. It's like,
well, that's most days for me, I've got to be honest. Yeah, yeah. It's not, you know that where they say, "Oh, you walk into a room and you wonder why you've come in there." Yeah, that's happening all the time
Yeah, yeah.
because you get to, and to be honest, it's happened for quite a long time. I think that's just me, but it's nice when you talk to other people and they go, "Oh yeah, I've got that too," and you
Mm.
think, "Okay, then it's
Not just
normal."
me.
Which, and I did a bit of research in it because I thought, "Christ, I'm going, I'm losing it," but actually, yeah, it is quite a normal thing
Mm.
to happen, for sure. We've got quite a few. We've got
Ooh.
quite a few messages, so let's have a look at some of them. So, right. Lovely question here from Laurie Coffey. Thank you, Laurie. Hi, Kerry. I'll be interested to know who you are mainly influenced by and whose work do you admire the most. So that, again, tricky, isn't it?
Okay.
Because, yeah.
Yeah, I can say. So when I first started out, it's a long story, but I have a very special friend who I believe is 98. His name is
Phew,
Mick Jennings, and he's a World War II veteran.
wow.
And I visit him, not as regularly as I should, but when we've taken him to Normandy, etc. And I went round to his house one day, and he's got these pictures. He snuck a brownie into his backpack, and he was taking the Americans over on D-Day. And he took some pictures. You know, they're not particularly exciting, but they were at sea when D-Day was happening. And I said, "Wow, Mick, they're amazing." He said, "Oh, they're nothing." And I was talking about my photography and what I was doing, and I said, "Oh, I'm really worried that my pictures aren't clear enough." And he said, "Have you heard of Robert Capa?" Which I hadn't at the time. I'd seen the pictures, but I hadn't, heard of him. And I went out and bought a book straight away. And of course, they're the World War II photographs that were, all the films were affected by whatever it was that affected them. I can't remember now what happened to them. Were they water damaged or something? A lot of them. But he took photographs of the soldiers coming in off the landing crafts, and they're all blurry. Every single one is blurry, and yet they capture the essence of that moment. And I was like, wow, yeah, he's right. It doesn't have to be crystal clear. It doesn't have to be perfect. No. And that's when I started to think about being imperfect is fine. I don't want perfection. That's not my style. No. So Robert Capa is a really big one for me.
Well, it's interesting actually. Look, when you were showing your work, so people could see that. Again, Lee Churchill. Wow, beautiful. Thanks very much for that, Lee. And well, it turns out that our Laurie has 3 pieces of your work, so quite clearly she loves it. Yes. Now, that's quite interesting because when you mentioned that, and Lee will know this, that Glyn Dewis has done a whole series of World War II veterans. He's been photographing them. He's won awards for it and all sorts because he does portraits that kind of show them.
I might know him actually.
Yeah, his work is amazing.
Yes.
For that, he's done. He's had a lot of exhibitions. He's won. I said he's won awards, etc. But you are right what you're saying. Actually, a photograph doesn't need to be beautifully in focus and every bit.
No, I was thinking about the technical side of it, and it's not important. It's about capturing that moment or that item or that.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
Feeling.
Opposite. Everything in my work has to be heavily detailed in focus.
Yeah.
But I can see why it does make. We've got another one, Nettie Roswell. You obviously got quite a few fans because Nettie's just come up and said, "I purchased one of your emerald green trees. The colours are otherworldly. Everybody comments on it. How do you get such rich greens?"
Oh, bless her. Yes, I know, Nettie. How do I get such rich greens? What about photographing it in the right light, isn't it?
Yeah.
What that's like. And I think, again, it's finding the right balance of contrast and whether it's silver, gold, copper, what works.
Right. Does that change it? Does that, when you put that on, does that bring the colours out more?
Yeah, it can ruin it or it can make it, depending on, I have ideas. So this one, in Slindon Village. I wanted in the woods rather. I wanted to do that in gold, and it just didn't really pop. No. And yet when I did copper, it really worked.
Yeah.
You know, there's no rhyme or reason. The greens again are that they really work with gold. Gold really makes the green pop. I've realised that, and copper, not so much silver, but copper and gold really make it pop.
So all of this process that we're talking about with all the gold, the copper, etc., basically gloves on, but lockdown helped you develop that, because obviously none of us could go out, none of us could go anywhere.
No, it was perfect for me. I'm a bit insular anyway, so I like my own space, and I actually converted my garden shed into a studio, although my kids still tease me and call it a shed. But I had it all lined out, and a friend of mine helped me sort the roof and everything, and it's got electrics in now. It's a proper studio, which is lovely. So I did that, and just practice. And then I'd seen gilded photographs, similar but not quite the way I wanted it, but I liked their look, and I studied it and was trying to work out how people did them. And then I just thought, I'd just stop looking at other people, do your own thing. And that's what I did. And I spent months working out my way of doing it to look just right. And I tried so many different substrates, so many different ways of doing it. And like I said, so much of it went in the bin. And then I found, the other thing is I found a fantastic framer, and we worked really well together. And I just said, I want to, really make the artwork pop, and she helped me, and we've made these lovely bespoke frames, which are wood black, but they've got sort of gold in them, little bits of gold around the edging, which is lovely, which really picks out the gold in the picture.
And that, I mean, my work isn't framed, so I don't have that issue, but framing is a huge part of the actual picture.
Absolutely.
It's not,
she suggested that I leave a little rim around the edge of the pictures, just showing the gold, and to double mount. And I was like, I don't know. And I went with her, and she was completely right. It looks lovely.
Yeah, and that is it. So many artists don't think about the frame enough. So again, jumping back a couple of weeks to Katerina, she has some amazing frames, and a lot of her frames are she's got one, for instance, that Andy Warhol used. So it's actually signed on the back by him, and etc. And I said to her, well, does that influence the picture that you're going to put in it? Whereas with your work, you can see that you've actually looked at the picture and then thought about the frame. So
the frame,
the two going together.
Also, I'm really into recycling. I've got a few lovely gold gilt frames that I want to use. And I've sold them before in gilt frames, but I've painted them different colours. I've painted them black to make them stand out. But there's a part of me that thinks people like something to be just simple and plain, let the picture speak. I don't know. I always toy with that, but I have this lovely collection of old gilt frames that I want to change the colour on and play with, maybe in the future.
Maybe in the future. Now, just while we've, what I'd like to do now is just quickly give us a couple of minutes to, have a drink. Fill your glass up. I'm just gonna play a little advert for a Flux so that people get a little bit of a feel about what the exhibition's about, and then we'll come back for the last sort of 17 minutes or so. And please, anybody out there watching, jump on and let's have some any more questions. That'll be fantastic. But nice to see that we've got some people dropping questions in. That's brilliant. Thank you. Okie dokie. Now I can see that, I don't know, Kerry, if you can hear me, your camera's gone again. So I'm probably going to talk for a bit because it does seem that Kerry's disappeared for a second. Perhaps she's gone to get top her drink up and found that it's taken a bit longer than it should have done. But look, that's Flux exhibition. That's what it's all about. Please jump on Eventbrite, get some tickets for the, I don't know how many are left actually, but get some tickets for the opening night, which is the 25th of July. It's fabulous. Glass of wine, walk around, have a chat with the artists. Over 80 artists, so decent, all different. Fair enough. And I can see that Kerry's come back, but all different and really fabulous event for 4 days. That one that you've just seen there was actually Piccadilly in Christmas, and Kerry is definitely having a little bit of trouble with her camera because she's disappeared again, and unluckily for you guys, you're stuck with me for a bit. But so I've done a few fluxes now, and every single one of them is an absolute joy because the people that come along, I can see she's back. The people that come along, nope. You've disappeared again. Your camera's gone off again, Kerry. What I might do is I'll carry on talking for a bit while you jump off. Yeah, this is always going to be a little bit of technical problems. It's quite difficult when people are working on Wi-Fi because obviously the signal can drop, but these are things that are sent to try us a little bit, I think. So I believe, no, now let's try again. It looks like you might have made it. No, you haven't. Nope. I believe as well there is going to be another Flux at Christmas once Lisa has decided upon a venue. I think there's some talks about around Covent Garden potentially, but certainly in London. But I think there are a few plans perhaps to think about doing Flux in a different part of the country. But I can say that that's probably quite a lot of work involved. It's a huge amount of work for Lisa as it stands at the moment, and she's off on a well-earned break coming up next week. So let's try Kerry again. Well, I can see you. I don't know if we can hear you, but I can see you. Yes, I can hear you.
Sorry, I live in the country, you know, what can I say?
See, well, this is proof that it's a live broadcast anyway, because anything could go wrong. I didn't expect to have to sit and, in fact, brings us on to a nice little point that I had, and I was talking to you about earlier, which was that during lockdown, for me, I was doing a lot of camera club talks via Zoom.
Yeah.
At one point, I had 200 people watching, and at least with this, I'm talking to you. Whereas with that, so all my jokes that I normally have in my talks, no one was laughing because they're all on mute. And then when I looked at the screen, one woman's doing her knitting, there's another couple eating their dinner, and then one woman also, unfortunately, switched her mic on by mistake, and she was watching EastEnders. So I could not believe it. I'm thinking, oh dear, it's bad enough I'm talking to myself. I really don't want to have the duffs going in the background as well.
That's bad.
So yeah, it was really funny, but it wasn't great. It wasn't a great time for any of us. And I was, I've got a day job and I was working ridiculous hours and then doing camera clubs, fitting those in as well. But, that's the only way that we could tell people about what we do and how we do it that was the only means that we had.
I have to say, there's quite a few artists I know who really developed in lockdown. Really.
Yeah. Well, I find it absolutely fascinating because if you've watched that program, The Piano, for example, some of the people that sit down and play the piano taught themselves during lockdown.
Yeah.
Which is, I've been playing the piano for years, and I'm thinking, how the hell did you do that in that time. It's quite amazing. But I
Yeah.
can see, and that's obviously what happened with you, is that you got into lockdown and thought, right, okay, I'm going to
Going
learn
for it.
something,
Yeah.
and you have. And what I think is quite impressive, and I'm really looking forward to seeing your work in real life, because I think what the impressive part is that you've actually worked out your own technique
Formula. Yeah. Yeah.
and your own formula for
Mhm.
doing it, which means probably nobody else is doing it.
I don't know. I just think somebody's got to be doing the same
Or
thing.
somebody will be watching this going, oh, I'll never go at that.
Yeah.
But you see, this is the thing that I always say.
It's very
I
niche.
don't mind.
Very unique.
Well, it's very niche, and I don't mind telling anybody how I do what I do. But you've got to have my brain
Yeah.
to come
Yeah.
up with
You're
it.
absolutely right.
And I think that's the same with your work. You've got to have the same, you know, and they say people copying your work is a form of flattery, but the truth is you've got to have that sort of brain that allows you to think totally obscurely and go, okay. Or you might be out walking your dog, see an unbelievable tree, and when we go to is it in your direction? Yes, it is. We went for a walk when the snowdrops were on, and it is a National Trust place. The trees are unbelievable, and I'll tell you when we go to
Ooh.
the green room afterwards, because don't let anybody else go there. It will
No.
be well worth a little trip for you, because the
Yeah.
trees are amazing. As
Is
I
that
said
the
to you
yew
earlier.
trees? There's a place near Gisso I've just been photographing actually with
No, this is sort
ancient yew
of
trees.
this is sort of West Wickham direction. It's that direction.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I'll talk to you about it afterwards. And I'm sorry to everybody else who's going, well, where the hell is it? Because
Yeah.
now you're not going
No,
to
don't tell anyone but me.
know.
I think the
The
biggest
trees.
insult is when somebody says to you, "Oh, what camera do you use?" "Oh, I'll get one of those." That'd be, And I think it's got to be not just the camera. You've got to have the eye, haven't you, for what you're taking a
Yeah,
picture of.
you have.
You can have the best equipment in the world, but if you don't know what you're looking at, or you can't, you can't get the way it's going to look in your head
Yeah.
through that film or through that digital camera, it's
Well,
pointless. Just to say, "Oh, you've got a good camera, it must be a good picture." You can have a good camera and have a terrible picture, can't you?
I've got a friend Jeanette here, who's a very good
Who's
photographer. She's a very good photographer, Jeanette. Again, what cameras you use? Well, you've actually
Olympus Micro Four
yeah.
Thirds.
There you go, Jeanette. And
Mark Olympus Olympus 10 Mark II.
that's it.
Be precise.
And she's also said, I agree. You need the eye. And Jeanette has actually. Jeanette takes some fabulous pictures. All the steampunk events that we all go to, Jeanette does an awful lot of that work.
Oh wow.
So
Steampunk.
and Laurie's asked, will you be at Marylebone? Well, we've been talking about that. So yes, you are.
Yeah.
And Lisa's popped on. Look, nice to see you.
Hi,
Said, yes, she will be. Yeah. You are going to be at Marylebone, because
Oh
that's
god, yes.
yeah, and Lisa's already said that Kerry's exhibiting at Flux Marylebone. So we've
Yeah.
already spoke about that quite a bit earlier on, and we're already ascertained the fact, for anybody that wasn't here at that time, that you're going to have something very special for that exhibition.
Yeah.
One very special picture, and absolutely really looking forward to seeing it. The difficult part, what I would say to you is, if you can come up every day, or at least,
I will, absolutely.
yeah, because people want to talk to the artist, and not everybody can make it every day, and I accept that.
No.
It's quite a commitment for 4 days, but people like to talk to the artist, and if you're there, you've got more chance of selling something than if you're not, because not because you won't sell it if you're not there. I don't mean that. What I mean is that people can get a much better they can get right into your picture and understand it, because you're talking about it. And so I would encourage all the artists to come up
Yeah.
as much as they can, because it definitely makes a difference. And it's, you know, it's, I know Lisa does everything.
She's
But
amazing. I think I've driven her mad lately with all my emails.
well, yeah, she will have that from everyone. And to be honest, until I started doing this live broadcast, I didn't realize what a flipping performance it is. Emails backwards and forwards, fitting
Yeah.
people into a time. I've then got to do the video for them. I've got to get their pictures and create a slideshow, all of that. And, you know, and that, you know, I'm already dealing with next week's now, because next week, because I'm going to be away the following week, I've got to do 2 and make one of those, you know, go out at the same time, but it won't be fully live. Because we're getting closer and closer to Flux. I want to get as many people on as possible to do that. But I feel for Lisa, because she's
I don't know how she does it.
she has an awful lot to do, and she's such a lovely person that she doesn't. I think I probably would turn around and say no. she doesn't. She's okay. We'll work it out. We'll sort it out. Probably inside she's on the verge of nervous breakdown, but it's a huge amount of work for her. But and I've met a lot of curators over the years, but she is absolutely, not, if not the best, certainly one of the best. But I think she's right up there, purely because when she curates a show, it flows.
Yeah.
So people, when they're walking through, you don't get, oh, let's put all of that type of work here. No, it actually, the whole exhibition flows. So you're never, people walking around are never thinking, well, this is all the same. It's not. And Lisa won't have people that are the same anyway. She's absolutely brilliant at doing her job. And she would be embarrassment for me saying that about her, but she is brilliant at doing her job. And she's going on a well-earned little break next week, so that's why everything had to be packed into to doing this. So what about next? What about after Flux? What other things you're doing for later on in the year?
Just sent off a huge parcel to
I did see that on Instagram. Yeah,
in Halifax. It was absolutely vast. So they're exhibiting wildlife and countryside. They have an exhibition in June. So I'm showing up there for the month for just 3 of them, 3 pictures. And then I've got Flux, and I'm looking at doing one possibly again in London in December. I'm also hopefully collaborating with an amazing guy. I'm sorry, Greg, I've forgotten your surname, but I met him at the Landmark Arts Centre, and he makes the most beautiful sculptures, vases out of oak. But he sandblasts them so they look like basket work. It's incredible, really incredible. So we're hoping that we can do something together with, you know, being trees, and especially as he uses recycled, you know, bits of wood, etc. So yeah.
Well, I don't know what's gone. My throat has just died on me.
And I've also been longlisted for the Visual Arts Association Visual Artist of the Year. So, yeah, just waiting to see how that goes.
Well, good luck with that. That sounds fantastic, and I can see why, to be fair. And that's the sort of thing that you know, look, this whole Flux TV thing is to give people like you a bit of a showcase, show people the kind of thing that you can do. People can then obviously go back and look at it afterwards, but also it allows me, it allows Flux, Lisa, to actually show people that it's not just about established artists at all.
That's what I like.
It's about up and coming artists, about people who generally it will be because their work is a bit special and really worth putting on show, which is, you know, clearly from the comments that we've been getting and the people that have been watching, that's clearly the case with you too, which is great. So I'm going to sort of kind of wind that up a little bit now. I've got a few things to say, so if you can stay on, I'll just hide you, and you can go into the green room. We'll have a little chat afterwards. But was there before we go? It's Kerry-Lynne.com, and people can go there. They can find out. In fact, I should. They can find out exactly what your work is. I'm just going to type in your website, and I'm going to
need to do some updating. Actually, I've been so busy with this last.
Here we go. So this is your website.
Yeah.
You can see the photographs that are on there, and there's also a little bit. There is a shop, but there's more importantly, you've got a little bit about yourself, which we've touched on pretty much everything. But people can contact you there. They can also find you on. They can also find you on Instagram.
I'm very active there, actually.
Yes.
Active place is Instagram.
Yeah.
And if they sign up to my on my website, if they sign up to my mailing list, they'll be the first to know when new editions come out.
Brilliant. And what about, do you Facebook or any of those other stuff? Do you do any of those? Yeah. See, this is this is the thing with artists in general, isn't it? That we just want to make art. We don't really want to be sticking loads of stuff on all these
so important
things, but you have to do it.
I put all my energy into Instagram. That's where I put it,
and that's because it's picture based, and I can understand that. I think that's quite important. It is for me. I like Instagram. I've got way more following on Facebook, but that's because I've had that for years. But it is I think it's an ideal medium to show your work off. But it's definitely quite difficult to actually just build your fan base up. It's not an easy thing to do. Instagram's harder than Facebook. And the problem I find with Facebook, so I have a business page on both of them, and Facebook in particular, the only way that I could increase my following is by paying to advertise, because that's the only way that I could do it, because that just didn't work any other way. But then you get to a certain point where you just can't get any more. And I know there are people that think it's fabulous to go out there and pay for them, but those people that you pay for don't engage with your work, so it's pointless really, and they're never going to buy anything, so it's kind of a waste of time.
At the end of the day, I'd rather have less followers, but somebody is going to buy.
And and that's very true. Look, we've pointed people in direction of your website. I've put the links onto YouTube as well to your website. Let's hope a few people come through, but we will see you on you've got to deliver your work that week. And I will be helping.
You'll be there as well, won't you?
I'll be there because I'll be helping putting the.
But you're also showing there as well, aren't you?
I am. Yes, I am showing. It's my favourite exhibition. I love it. But I will be there helping as well, and which again I absolutely love, and so I look forward to seeing you at some point that week, but definitely on the 25th. And as I've said to people already, jump out and get your tickets. Right. I will.
Thanks, Gary.
We'll say goodbye. Thanks for coming on. I'm glad you did. I know you were very nervous, but see, nerves just go after a couple of minutes.
You helped. You've made it very rich.
Thank you very much. And
thank you.
I will see you in July.
Yeah.
But hang about. We'll have a chat afterwards.
Okay.
So, there you go. I did say that it would be an interesting watch, and how amazing to develop that skill in lockdown, and then put those skills into practice and actually, do what comes naturally. I think to some people, I think people discovered during lockdown they found their inner artist, which is quite amazing, really. Absolutely brilliant, and thanks very much for watching. But what I need to do, of course, is tell you about next week's artist, which is Gino Parisi. Now, bear with me a minute while I jump through a few slides here, because we didn't even get to these but this is him, Gino Parisi, abstract artist, quite amazing work. he sent me tons of work to look at and create his film. I'm really looking forward to this because this is not something I'm familiar with. I want to find out all sorts about how he does what he does and where he gets his inspiration from. So, Gino, if you're listening, I will see you next week. And everybody else, thanks very much for watching, and see you next week.